What's going on, family? Welcome to another episode of the Seez Monroe Show. I am your host, and today we're here to talk about Wicked for Good. Now, going into this film, first off, I want you guys to go check out my short. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It is amazing, and I'm not just saying that because it's me. It is actually an amazing short. It's going to break down why I feel the way I feel about the film without spoiling anything. Here, I'm going to try to avoid a lot of spoilers, but just off of conversation, I'm probably not going to do a very good job of that. So I recommend those who have not seen the film yet to go check out that short and come here after you watch the film. Or if you don't care about spoilers, be my guest, watch both. So either way, going into this film, I was very excited because the first film was amazing to me. One of my top 3 films of last year. And my whole thought at the end of the film was the end of the first film. Where are we going with this? This film was 2 hours and 40 minutes. How much more could we actually have to make a second film? Because the play was only around 240, 250, somewhere around there, 2 hours and 40, 50 minutes. So what are we doing as far as a movie goes, right? My thought was, because we didn't show the Wizard of Oz story in this, so Dorothy, the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion, and all these, the Scarecrow, and just Toto, like all of the nuances of Wizard of Oz. So I thought we were going to explore that a bit. Right. And don't get me wrong, we went there. They touched on it, but honestly, they couldn't do too much with it because Wizard of Oz is still owned by Warner Bros. And this is a Universal film. Now, going into this film, I didn't know that. I take that back. I knew that, but I thought there was something that was going to just be worked out in, like, the devil's in the details. I thought these things would be worked out at this point. But unfortunately, it was not. So we didn't really get that storyline too much. You got tidbits of it, but not enough for them to make a second film. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm frustrated, because just the first act in this film was just dragged out so badly. And it was just like, all right, guys, we got the first film. I felt like we were on a roll. We were discovering new things. We were meeting new characters. We were just going through the motions of the film. This one, it was a lot of dragged out drama that, of course, you want to care about, but it's the drama is just there too long for you to care about it, unfortunately. So that was my main issue with Act 1. Act 2, I felt like we kind of picked up a little bit there, but even still, like, I want to say Act 2 was around the Nessa Rose situation when she not becomes mayor, but she is the mayor at this point in time. So, and she's in her feelings about how Buddy feels about Glinda. So things happen here. I don't want to spoil it all, but things happen there, and that really takes a turn in the film. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Let's go. We're finally here. Things are happening. But as the movie goes, you don't really see too many interactions between these characters with each other. I'm gonna have to just spoil it because I'm not about to keep trying to tiptoe around it. You don't see any interactions with the Tin Man until like damn near the end of the movie. You don't see any interactions with the Scarecrow until the very end of the movie. And that's what I had a problem with. And for you to sit here and try to squeeze out a second film, and again, I get it. We're all about profit here. We're all about making money, but not go do it somewhere else. Like, you literally could have made this one film, cut out some of the filler stuff in the first film. All of this second film was filler. So you could have cut most of this stuff out. Made the first film 3 hours and 10 minutes. Didn't they do that with, what's that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio? Not One Battle After Another. It was like a Native American film, like, that came out last year. It didn't do well, but I don't think the reason it didn't do well is because it was long. I just think it didn't do well because of the type of film it was, and it being long didn't help his situation at all. So, something of the Flower Moon. I can't think of it right now, but you get my point. With this film, it could have literally been 3 hours and 10 minutes, the first film, and it would have been amazing. You would have loved every bit of this film. And at slow points, if you would have had any slow points, you would have understood because it was a 3 hour and 10-minute film. But this film was completely filler, and it was just not worth that second film. Like, it's not worth that second watch. Like, it's hard to go watch this film again. And unfortunately, this is just where we at right now. We're trying to milk everything up out of Hollywood at this point, so I get it. But somewhere along the lines, Universal should have got with Warner Bros. And said, "Hey, we want to use these characters." That way, they could have made this film more intriguing, more interesting, a lot more going on versus everybody's hiding behind a bush and this is what's happening. And oh, that's Dorothy, but we can't show you that it's Dorothy, or we can't say Dorothy's name, and all this other stuff that was going on. I just felt like we could have did a better job at making this movie a lot better than what it was, because now you're going to have people that say, oh, Wicked was good, but Wicked for Good was just wasn't it. And then you're going to have people that don't watch Wicked because Wicked for Good was so bad, so just completing this series it's not worth it at that point, or the sequels or whatever. So we had to start thinking more long term versus the right now. And I felt like them breaking this film into two parts was a right now decision, and they're going to feel it a lot later on. But that's my piece on that. Let's go into the film a little bit. So we start off 5 years after the events of the original film, which again, I don't know what was going on from the events of the original film to 5 years later, but I just felt like that was too much time to be spread out if the Wicked Witch is still out there living and she wants to cause chaos. 5 years is a very long time. Either way, fast forward, the Yellow Brick Road is being built, which we are used to seeing in The Wizard of Oz, so we see that. Later on, Elphaba gets with the wizard. They pretty much devise a plan to come together, and Elphaba feels a way that the animals were captured, and which, again, it should have been like, oh, it should have been a heart-wrenching moment, but it wasn't. Reason being is you already knew this was happening. This was the whole point of you fighting for the animals at the beginning of the film, but like the middle of the first film. So I don't understand why you were so upset at this point, but the wizards pretty much stated, hey, she switched up. We got to get her up out of here. And that's when she became the Wicked Witch again. And pretty much events took place from there. Not too much what took place, and that was a part of the problem, but events took place. And once Glinda found out that Fiyero was still in love with Elphaba, she pretty much devised a plan with the wizard and Madame Marble to pretty much, I don't want to say take her out, but pretty much to bring Elphaba in. And by bringing Elphaba in was to put her sister in danger. So that's where the whole Wizard of Oz plot comes into play, with the house falling on the witch. So pretty much in the long term, Glinda unalived Nessa Rose, which is the Wicked Witch of the East. All right, so that's great news here. Again, I'm thinking that this film is going to pick up a little bit more than that at this point. And unfortunately, that's where this film kind of fell flat. They got along after her sister was just unalived, and I didn't like that at all. But you're mad about these animals that you already knew was in captivity, but now you're upset about seeing them in captivity and whatever. We fast forward. We get to the point where Fiyero is defending her because he's still in love with her, and he pretty much saves Elphaba for being slaughtered. And at that point, he was taken in as a prisoner, and Elphaba devised this spell that turns him into the Scarecrow. Oh, I forgot that Nessa Rose turned the Tin Man into the Tin Man. I forgot the Munchkin's name. Either way, and that's what made her the Wicked Witch of the East. Again, these are things that were very interesting if they would have made them more interesting. But I guess, again, because of the characters and the rights to these characters, they couldn't do too much with them. So that's that. So seeing that, it was nice seeing those things. Those are little tidbits that was just good to see on screen, but you don't see much of that. After that, you kind of see the Tin Man. You don't really see the Tin Man become the Tin Man. You see like bits and pieces there, and then the Scarecrow, you don't really see him become the Scarecrow. It's like kind of in the background, bits and pieces, and then you see them all at once, and then that's pretty much all you see of them all filmed. So, yeah. Fast forward, we get to the point where Elphaba knows that she has to be, she wants to take out Dorothy, which was the house that landed on her sister. But Come to find out, it was Glinda. She finds out that it was Glinda's fault. It was Madame Marvel's fault. It was the wizard's fault. So she pretty much helps. How do I say this? She helps devise this other plan because they thought water would take her out, and that's where we get the whole Wizard of Oz I'm melting thing from. And you don't see this happening. You literally see Glinda in a closet, and she's seeing shadows of this event taking place. And that was just the worst thing ever. Like nobody wanted to see that. So once that happens, they kind of ease on down the road. That's from The Wiz. If you guys haven't watched The Wiz, it's not good, but why not go watch it? Had Michael Jackson in it. Check it out. Either way, uh, yeah. So Dorothy, Toto, they get sent home at this point, and that's when Fiero or the Scarecrow comes back, and because she's staying in his castle. By the way, I'm sorry, I'm just missing out on like key details here. She's staying in his castle, so he knows that there's trapdoors and places where she can hide. So she faked her death, and he came after Dorothy went home, and he came to be with Elphaba, and they left Oz and went on to live happily ever after, I'm guessing. All right. Then we go to the point of the beginning of the first film where Glinda is there to tell her story. And it added a little more to that, but I feel like if they would have ended it right there, where Glinda is telling her story about Elphaba and how they kind of veered off in the first film, that would have been perfect. But they had to add the extra stuff just because we're trying to milk this cow for what it's worth. So they don't know how to just end things the right way. That would have been perfect, but not a perfect movie, but that would have been a perfect ending. But we didn't do that. It is what it is. We're here now. So me personally, I didn't really enjoy the film. I gave it a 5 out of 10. It was watchable. I didn't really think that it was an addition to the Wicked film. I honestly feel like if we ended it at the original Wicked film and just, hey, if you want to see the rest, go watch the play, it would have been a better offset because this was just horrible. Like they just did a bad job at this. And again, they're trying to milk this thing. So I get it why they did it, but yeah, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth messing up the legacy of this Wicked film, the first Wicked film. And now people are not going to go and watch. Well, they're going to watch it this weekend, but I'm saying they're not going to go and want to add this to their collection and say, hey, we got to do a Wicked marathon of the first and second film. It's just like you're sacrificing your legacy for the now moment. And that's what I didn't like about this film. So unfortunately, I give it a 5 out of 10. Let me know what you think down below, guys. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, I'll see you guys next time for another episode of the Seez Monroe Show.